Hi guys, welcome back. I'm going to be making some yogurt today, but the first thing I gotta do is go ahead and sterilize the pot. So I've got the inner pot in there, I've got the trivet. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add 2 cups of water. I'm gonna go ahead and add a spoon and the silicone spatula that I'm going to be using to mix my yogurt around. I just want to make sure that everything's nice and clean and that I'm not introducing any kind of bad bacteria to my yogurt. So this is my first step. I go ahead and I do this. I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on there. I'm going to go ahead and turn it to, I don't know if you can see that, but it's on ceiling. That's venting would be like that. Ceiling is like that, at least on this one. They vary. And then I'm going to come right here and I am going to hit steam. I have it set on 2. And I'm gonna go ahead and click. I don't want it to keep it warm. And this is gonna go ahead and take it time to reach up to the steam. Then it's gonna do it for 2 minutes. Then it'll beep when it's ready to go. And then I'll be back with you when that happens. Okay, y'all. Well, this went ahead and did its steam. I'm gonna set it to venting, just make sure there's nothing left in there. Go ahead and take off this lid. I'm gonna go ahead and just get that out of there. Okay. Go ahead and dump this water out. Put that back in there. And so what I have is I have a gallon of milk here. And I just took out of the freezer my starter. And all this starter is yogurt that I made previously. This one right here, we are in September of 2023. This starter is, I put it in the freezer February of 2022. This is a 4-ounce little jelly jar. I take it out when the yogurt has only cured for like 6 hours. That way I still have enough live bacteria in there. I try to get my yogurt with as little lactose as possible, so I let mine go for 22 to 24 hours. That's how long I will let it ferment in here. And what that does, it lets the bacteria eat more of that milk sugar, and therefore is less upsetting if you're lactose intolerant. There'll still be lactose left, but there'll be a lot less than if I just let it ferment for 4 to 6 hours. And that's depending on you. You know, at 4 to 6 hours, it's usually done. I don't do it for that amount of time. So, like I said, this I take out at about 6 hours. And then I don't mess with it too much. I let it do its thing at like 6 hours. I take the lid off. I grab a few spoonfuls, put them in here, put this in the refrigerator, and then the next day after it's all nice and cool, then I'll go ahead and freeze it. And the reason for that is I don't want to just leave it sitting in the refrigerator, because the bacteria that's still alive is going to continue to eat. And so if it eats all the sugar in there that it needs, then it's just going to die because it has nothing else to feed on. So I just let it cool down because obviously I don't want to stick it in the freezer hot. So I let it cool, and then the very next day I put it in the freezer. And then I put the dates on them and I put them in the freezer, and then I just used them. I don't do starter every time I do yogurt. So I just took this one out, and it looks like I have 3 more. I try to keep 6 to 8. So I will probably take some out of this one. I'm not sure just yet. Depends when 6 hours is and if I'm up or if it's in the middle of the night. So I'm gonna go ahead and take, this is whole milk. I'm pouring in there. And then I'm going to go ahead and dump this little bit of water out. Then I just go ahead and put my lid back on. And then you can put it on sealing or you can leave it on venting. It doesn't matter. I just put it on sealing just for the purpose of sealing it, but you don't have to, because it's going to just do the yogurt stuff. So it's not going to do anything as far as like pressure or anything like that. So then if you have the InstantPot that has, I'm trying to turn that to see, hopefully you can see it, but if you have the InstantPot that has the yogurt setting, let me make sure you can see this. Yeah, so you hit yogurt, and then see I have mine automatically set at 22 and it's on normal, but you can actually, so see if I hit yogurt again, it gives me the boil. If I hit yogurt again, it goes to less and it goes to 30. So what I want to do when I put my milk in there is I want to hit yogurt till it gets to more and it's on boil. So that 22 on the normal, I don't deal with that just yet, because what I want to do is get my milk hot enough. And so I just hit that, what was it, 2 or 3 times, just till it's on more and it's on boil. And this is going to do its own thing. It's going to go for a while. It's going to get up to temperature. I always found was that if I did it just on this yogurt setting and then I went ahead and let it cool and added my starter, was that I didn't come up with very good yogurt. And I think it's because the temperature wasn't quite up, because I would check it with a thermometer and it just wasn't up to where it needed to be. So now what I do is I don't even use a thermometer anymore. So I set it on yogurt. When it gets done, it'll beep that it's done. Once it beeps that it's done, I'll come in here and I'll do slow cooker, and I'll set a timer for 15 minutes. And when the 15 minutes is up on the slow cooker, then I'll go ahead and I'll turn it off, and I will let it come down to the temperature that I need it to be to add my starter, and then I'll go on from there. But this I take out now because this is going to take it a while to get up to temperature. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it in a bowl of warm water, and by the time this is done, this should be pretty close to that. So I'm going to go ahead and get that bowl now. But it's not, I can still stick my finger in it. And I may have to change that a time or two. I wouldn't have to do this step if I would have just taken it out earlier in the day, or if I would have taken it out initially when I sterilized the pot. But I didn't think about it, so I'll just do it this way and it'll be fine. Okay guys, so it took it 35 minutes. This is what it shows. Yogurt, but obviously that's not done. So I'm gonna go ahead and cancel slow cooker. And that 15 right there, don't let that fool you. That's not 15 minutes, that's 15 hours. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna turn this keep warm off, and I'm gonna go ahead and set my timer for 15 minutes, and then we'll be back. Okay guys, so my timer went off. I couldn't get here immediately, so it's been 19 minutes. I try not to let this water drip in there just so that it doesn't make it runny. Alright, so our milk is hot, very, very hot. Now at this point you can go ahead and just let it sit like this, cover it so that nothing gets in it. But you can let it sit. We'll take it out of here because this will keep the heat. So you could actually just take it out, set it on something, cover it, and let it cool. That's gonna take an hour and a half, 2 hours. I don't like waiting that long. Do not like waiting that long. So what I'm going to do is, I have a bowl with ice water. So I'm gonna put that right there. And I'm gonna go ahead and this and put it right into that ice water. And then, this is already nice and clean. Just go ahead and basically do this just so that it's getting everywhere. And this will take 5 to 10 minutes, which is a lot better than hour and a half, 2 hours. Obviously with an hour and a half, 2 hours, you don't actually have to sit there and watch it. But the thing with that also is that then it could just get all the way down to room temperature, and you don't want it all the way down to room temperature. So if you forget, then there is that. With this, I want to get it to about 110 degrees. So I'll go ahead and just keep stirring, and when it's been a few minutes and I don't see all the steam coming out, my hands are clean, but I'll go ahead and wash them again since I touched the lid, and then I'll just put my finger in there and see. If it burns my finger, then that's way too hot. So I used to have a thermometer and I did it with the thermometer. Obviously that's a lot easier. I just put the thermometer in there, and it's an instant thermometer, and it would read the temperature. And it quit working, and I just haven't replaced it. So I just do the finger test. And like I said, you don't have to do this. You can just let it sit. And I like doing it in the InstantPot because on the stove you have to sit there and watch it, and then your milk, you know, I like doing a gallon of milk at a time, and you have to stir it because the bottom gets really hot, the top is still cold, and I just, because I like making a big quantity, I just like doing it in the InstantPot where it doesn't require my attention. As far as constant attention, it does, you know, like setting timers and stuff like that, so that I am around when it needs the actual attention. So I'm gonna go ahead and wash my hands. And it still feels like, yeah, that is still pretty hot. And that's good. So now what I'm gonna do, I will take the bowl that we sterilized, and we'll go ahead and put, look at that yogurt. Look at how nice that is. Can you see that? You see how thick that is? Yeah, that's 1.5 years old. Oh, and it smells really good too. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that in my bowl. I'm going to take the spoon. Actually, I could do it with this also. make sure I get all of it. 4 tablespoons fit in this little jar. So 4 tablespoons does a full gallon of milk. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a few tablespoons of the warm milk. And then I'm just going to mix it up so that I don't have any clumps in there or anything like that. Make sure that any cold bits get warm. Look at that, that's with the milk. Looks good. Alright, so that's good. Now I'm just going to go ahead and dump that in there. And then I'm going to go ahead and stir some more. What I want to do is I want to make sure that my starter is incorporated into all of the yogurt. You can do this with a spatula, you can do it with a whisk, you can do it with a fork, a spoon, whatever you want. I find that a whisk works really well, but this is what I got out today, so this is what we're using. This works good too. I find with the whisk it just mixes easier. And so I just like to make sure that it's in there, and no, there's no amount of time or any mixes, just whenever you think that it's good. You see how much I've mixed. And then but the next thing that I'm gonna do is I am going to take this. I'm setting it on a towel. Get this big bowl out of the way. So I've got it on a towel. And what I want to do is I want to just dry up the bottom because I don't want to put it in there wet. So I just want to make sure that it's all dry. Then I just lift it, make sure that there's no water, and that looks good. So it's all dry. I take it, I put it right back in there, which this part is still warm. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put my lid on. And then, like I showed you earlier, we're going to go ahead and just hit yogurt. It's on boil. I don't want it there. I've already done that. I don't want less than 30. I want normal, and I'm gonna do mine for 22 hours. Now, you do yours, I'd say 6 to 8 hours. 6 to 8 hours is probably pretty good. You can start with that. If you're trying to get rid of a lot of the lactose, the milk sugars in there, then I would leave it for 22 to 24 hours. I will tell you this, the longer you leave it in there, the more sour it gets, because the bacteria is eating all that sugar, so it gets more sour. I like Greek yogurt, so it doesn't bother me, but you'd have to do to your taste, you know. This is done. We started this an hour and 15 minutes ago, was when I first came out here, and well, not the cleaning part, after it was cleaned, but then it's been an hour and 15 minutes since we poured our milk in here, and now this will just go for 22 hours. And then tomorrow, I was actually thinking it'll be It'll be late tonight, so I probably won't take any starter out of this one. If I was gonna take starter, I'd come back in 6 hours and I'd go ahead and fill up my little jars. I'd fill up probably like three or four of them, but I'm not gonna do it. I'll just do it next time. And I make yogurt about every 3 weeks. So if you don't, oh, I didn't mention this previously, if you do not have the starter because you have not made your own yogurt and you haven't frozen any, then you can get your starter at the store. Is what that looks like on there, but that's all you want. And you can just do that the first time and do it that way. And so if you do it that way and you're making a gallon of milk like this, then you would put the 4 tablespoons in there. If you're only doing a half a gallon, then you would just add the 2 tablespoons in there. But everything else is basically the same. But I will see you guys back. For me, it'll be 22 hours from now. For you, it'll be a second. All right, guys, well, it has been 22 hours. This is what it looks like. It says that. And I'm gonna take my lid off. This is what it looks like. So this is what it looks like, and I'm gonna go ahead and just scoop a little out so that you can see, but at this point I don't bother it. What I will do is I will just cover it with a plate, and I will stick the pot into the refrigerator, and I will let it sit for at least 6 hours before I worry about putting it in jars or anything like that. So you see that? It'll get thicker too after being in the fridge. So there's that. And you can see a little bit of whey right there on the left. It'll have a lot more whey. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and cover this and put it in the fridge for at least 6 hours, and then I'll bring you back when I'm gonna put it into containers. All right, guys, so it has been over 24 hours since we put this in the fridge. I know I told you at least 6 hours, but you know, life happens and you get busy and don't have time. So just smells so good. But look at this. Can you see in the pot? So I mean, just look at that. Look at this. So now, when I first started making yogurt years ago, I would go ahead and I would take this and I would go ahead and strain it. So I would strain out all the whey. And then I'd go ahead and I'd have a quart or a pint of whey, and I would use that whey for baking and for putting in my smoothies and protein drinks. And it's, you know, it's a good form of protein. I don't strain it because if you can see, there's not that much whey and it's pretty nice and thick. And so I like it this way. We like it this way. So I keep it like this. There is whey in there. You can see. Well, you might be able to see after I get some of this in a jar. But there is still whey in there. Now I will tell you this. This one's just thick because I used whole milk. When I do it with 2% milk or 1% milk, there is a lot more whey and it's not this thick. And then sometimes I will strain it for a little bit just to get some of that liquid out of there. But with the whole milk, you just wind up with a good looking yogurt and no strain. It smells so good. So good. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do, I just wanted to show you that so that you can see what it looks like. And these have been sterilized. All the utensils I'm using have been sterilized. So I'll go ahead and fill up a glass jar.
And normally once I put it in this glass jar, if I'm going to take any out of there, I kind of just try to pour it out so that I'm not putting any utensil in there that hasn't been sterilized. That way it'll keep for much longer. I think I mentioned earlier in the video that we keep the yogurts normally like 3 or 4 weeks. It'll keep, but I make sure that it's sealed nicely, and I make sure that I don't put any utensils in there. And if I am going to put a utensil in there, that it has been sterilized. So I'd rather not put anything in there instead and just pour it out. That way I don't have to worry about any contamination. So, but you see how nice and thick that is. And I've not priced yogurt here lately. I'll try to look it up so that I can go ahead and put a picture on here so that you can see. And I'll put the price of the gallon of milk that I'm using just so that you can see the comparison. I don't know what it is off the top of my head right now, so I'm not even going to throw out any numbers. But I'm getting a whole gallon of yogurt for the cost of a gallon of milk. And I know that the savings is considerable, and that one hasn't been sanitized or sterilized. And I know exactly what I'm putting in it. It's milk, and it's the starter that we put in it. There is absolutely nothing else in here. You were with me. You watched me put stuff in here. So I don't have to worry about anything else. So that's why we choose to do it, because economically it just makes sense. And then health-wise, I know exactly what's in here. And I like knowing what I put into my body. So, and I try to keep a plate under it just so that I don't make a mess, but I still make a mess. It happens. So I'm going to go ahead and put the lids on this and put them in the refrigerator. These are ready to go. Look at that. Whole quarter yogurt for pennies, probably. I see, mess. Yeah. I'm going to rinse that off. And now I'm going to show you, so I still have that much left. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and measure out how much, which I have, what, that was 2 quarts, 3 quarts. So I should have a whole nother quart in here. So I will put it in here, and then I will show you what I'm going to do with it. And I try to get all of it out of there. You know, I don't like to waste anything. So it might take me a minute, but I just feel better about it. I feel pretty good when I don't let things go to waste. So even though it might take me a little bit longer. All right, so we've got that in there, and it's approximately a quart. It could be a little bit more, a little bit less, which is perfectly okay. So we're going to estimate it at 4 cups. And then I told you I make a mess. See, make a mess all the time. Let me get this out of the way so you're not looking at that. Dry my hands. And then got my oatmeal. And yes, I reuse my jars. And so I have 4 cups in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do 4 scoops. And to this,
how big is the scoop?
This scoop is a half a cup. So I normally do a half a scoop of the oats a scoop of the oats with 2/3 of the milk. No, I think it's good. It was four cups of the yogurt, and then 4, whether it's 1/3 or half scoop, it doesn't matter. One way will be a little bit thinner and the other way will be a little bit thicker. So I'm still sticking to that. And then chia seeds, I will put 4. These little things are a tablespoon. I'll go ahead and put 4 in there. And if I don't have enough for 4, I think I might. If I don't have enough for 4, that's okay. It's not science. So 3. Yeah, it made 4. So I do that. I don't add any sugar. I don't add any other flavoring. And I mix this all up. And I know you might think it's funny or silly or ridiculous, but I call this oat-gurt. Oat-gurt. Oat-gurt? Yes, oat-gurt. Because it's a combination of oats and yogurt. So I took oat and gurt. And I just mix this up really good. And put it in the fridge. And that's what it looks like. And it's ready to eat. It'll cool. It'll mix in nicely. It'll thicken up. And it's ready to eat oat-gurt. You can have it for breakfast, can have it for lunch, can have it for a snack. You can take it, let me see. See, that's what it looks like. And I mean, other than getting a little bit thicker in the refrigerator, it'll basically still look the same. But the oats will soften up. So they won't be cooked oats, but they'll be nice and soft because they're sitting in the fridge. And so I'll go ahead and we'll eat on this all week till it's gone. So there's no, sometimes it lasts more than a week. It just depends if we eat it every day or if we don't eat it every day. But that's it. So I don't have to worry about making us this every night and putting it in the refrigerator. I think people might call this overnight oats. I'm not really sure if this is the same process for overnight oats or not. I don't know. I just do it this way and I call it oat-gurt, and that's what I've done for years. So I'm not sure, but it's good. I'll take this and I will go ahead and, serve it. Sometimes you can just put a little bit of syrup over it. Sometimes we put homemade jam over it. Syrup, homemade jam. What else do we put over it?
Honey.
Honey. Yeah, honey. So it's just really good with anything that you would put in your oats. The only difference is that this is cold and the texture is different. But you're getting all the nutrition from the oats and you're also getting the nutrition from the chia seeds. Sometimes, and I mix it up. So, it's never a complete science. I just kind of play with it. But sometimes I'll put flax seeds or ground flax in here also. I'm not adding that in today. But yeah, so honey, jam, syrup. Agave. There's something else. Oh, strawberries. I don't know if I mentioned that. So fruit, like fresh or frozen fruits, right on here. Delicious. So it's a good healthy snack or breakfast, lunch, and it's done. We just open it, get what we want from there, put it back in the refrigerator, and we'll do it till it's gone. So there you have it, guys. So you saw yogurt. You saw how easy it was. Yeah, it took me a little bit longer. You leave it in the refrigerator 6 hours. And just because 6 hours it's nice and cold. You know, if you want it when it's done, yeah, you can get into it. You can eat it, but warm yogurt to me is nasty yogurt. So I put it in the refrigerator, and I just find that, oh, these times that I've given you, they just work for me. They work for us. It's the way we like it. So, but you can make any adjustments that you'd like to make. If you have any questions or anything, please leave them in the comments below, any comments or anything that you would like to know. Thank you for being with us. I hope that you have a wonderful and blessed day. Till next time.